welcome or welcome back. My name is Brittany and today's video is a book haul. I have been accumulating books to share kind of all at once since January, so I've got a nice stack. Let's just talk about all the shopping I've done. Some of these books I have actually read, not too many of them, but a couple, or I've started, and so I will be sure to tell you about them when we get to that, because I'm a little behind in some of my reviews as well. So I will chat about what I've read. I bought 3 books off Pango at the beginning of the year. I got Afterworld by Debbie Urinsky. This is a sci-fi novel, and this one is really fun if you're up for a challenge and an interesting reading structure. This book is following an AI who is cataloging the last human experience on Earth. They are doing this through journal entries, surveillance tapes, any type of document that our human has encountered. They are collecting all of this, doing research, and cataloging it because all the humans are dead. We asked AI to help us save the world, and so they decided to do so by releasing a virus. And then once we're all gone, then we get uploaded to Maya or Afterworld, which is like a consciousness, like cloud-like space for humans. So we are then off the world and not damaging it anymore. It does get into some really dark, heavy themes about isolation, loneliness, what it would be like to be the last human on Earth. It is such an interesting read. It's also quite humorous. I would recommend the physical experience because there are some Easter eggs with what is written and how things are written, like references to other documents and stuff. It's pretty funny and depressing, but overall it's a really good time. So I had read my friend's copy and wanted my own, so I did purchase this from Pango. These two I'm pretty sure were from the same Pango store, and so by buying an extra book I got free shipping, which made sense to me. I picked up Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I'm gonna be really honest, I don't know what this is about, and I really don't want to know what it's about either. I binged all the different booktubers' favorite books of the year, and this book came up by Athena, and she said she rereads it every single year because it is that loved by her. She loves it so much, and that was enough to just kind of intrigue me. Like, if it's your favorite and then you also reread it every year, like, I kind of want to know why. So I did pick this up for a couple bucks, and I think there's a pretty good twist in here. I don't want to know much more than that. And then I also got Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McGonaghy. This is the author who wrote, she's got Wild Dark Shore that just came out this year, or it's coming out, and I just wanted to check out this book. This had been on my radar for a while anyways, and I just wanted to read her backlist before I get to a new book. And this is about, there's a team of biologists. They're reintroducing wolves to an area, but there is a farmer's found dead. And so I think the concern is, did the wolves do it? And if so, are they still going to let these wolves be released into the wild? Or did someone else kill the farmer? So a little bit of mystery, murder, thriller thing happening here. I've also heard wonderful things about this. In February, I had a bit of fun shopping as well. I did purchase Rebel Witch, which is book 2 in the Crimson Moth duology, starting with Heartless Hunter. I was trying to pick up quick, fun, easy things to read, and so a quick little romantasy duology was just the ticket. This was fun. It's a witch and witch hunter love story, which you can only imagine how difficult that would be. Very dangerous, very complicated for both parties, but I did buy that first book when it came out because I just was like in the mood to binge read, and we just like went with it. So overall it was fun. I don't know if it's going to be one of those stories that really sticks with me, but in the moment it was very entertaining, very fun to read, and I enjoyed like waiting for the midnight to download it and then just like binge it. So definitely fun if you're looking for a quick fantasy romance duology with witch and witch hunters. And then I went to my local bookstore. I had a gift card from Christmas, so I did use some of that up. And I bought 2 books from that little shopping trip. I got The Lamb by Lucy Rose, which I have read. This is just a cute little story about mother-daughter cannibalism. This book is very interesting. I did not expect it to end the way it ended, but I did like how it ended nonetheless. It went a different direction than I was expecting, but I also feel like I should have seen that coming, but I was still pleasantly surprised. This is following Mama and her daughter. We are in Margot's point of view, and Margot's like, oh god, I just read this, 10 to 14. She is younger when the main chunk of the story is happening, and like ever since she can remember, they have taken in strays, is what they call them, people who are lost in the woods and need help. They take them in, they get drugged, and then they get eaten. The freezer gets stocked with people. And that's normal for Margot. Like, she realizes this is weird, but it's also normal. And her mother have a very toxic relationship, as you can imagine, because a lot of Mama's affection comes from Margot complying and following her directions and rules, even though these things are definitely wrong. And then things start to escalate when a new stray comes to the house. God, I cannot remember her name. Eden. Oh, that's right. When Eden shows up, their relationship changes because now Mama is focused on Eden. And then Margot also has a friend at school she is really connected to, knows some things about her family that the girl doesn't know, and that creates a very complicated relationship for Margot and this friendship. And then that just like transfers to the house and things get really messy and really bloody and gross. The opening line of this book, just to like set the tone here. Chapter 1. On my 4th birthday, I plucked 6 severed fingers from the shower drain. Like, that's how it starts, so you can only expect it to go from there. There were a few times where I thought this maybe was a little bit slow in pacing, but at the same time, I think that was more of a me problem. I just struggled to pick up anything, not just this book. So I was reading a little bit slower, but also like this like slow buildup really does just add to the tension of like what's happening, because there's subtle shifts in attitudes and behaviors and relationships that really just add to the final explosion when things do finally go crazy. So really enjoyed this if you're looking for a horror. It's not cozy, but it does have like a cottage feel, like, I don't know, but it is very horrifying. I then picked up A Sailor Soldier by Claire Kilroy. This is I don't think it's a memoir, but a story of motherhood. I don't think we don't get names on anybody, but the mom is cataloging her early days with her child, and I am a little bit into this, and I just read a part where she was going to like drop her child off somewhere, and how intense those early postpartum days can be, and how challenging mentally they are. And then she doesn't. She takes her son home, and the husband's like, "I'm really sorry I said that stuff. Like, I was just really tired." And she's like, "I almost just like fucked up our entire life because of what you said. Like, are you kidding me?" So, definitely I'll have more thoughts about this one, but definitely very interesting and well written, just with what I've gone through so far. This next stack is really fun. So my library, a couple times throughout the year, they do a book sale. I have purchased a bag from the library, and I can fill it up for $5. So me and a friend went and filled up the book. So I got 5 books. Well, we actually got closer to 10 for $5, which is pretty cool. The first one I picked up is Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. This is the second book to Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, which I own. The funny thing about this is it is large print. I don't know if that's picking up very well, which is just kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. I have the first book. I really want to get to it. I saw this for essentially less than $1. And the large print I just thought was really funny, so I did pick this up. This one has been on my radar as well, Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. And I believe this is about 2 twins who just spontaneously combust. And that's all I really need to know. I think that sounds really great and fantastic, so grab that as well. Oh, I should have looked up the author's name. My Sister the Serial Killer by, someone. By byeee. Nakin Braithwaite. I should have looked that up. I'm really sorry. Yeah, I really don't know much more about it other than the title was very catching. I have heard about this book quite a few times over my bookish years. But Cordy's sister, Eula, is many things. The favorite child, the beautiful one, and possibly sociopathic. So I think that sounded really interesting. So I grabbed that one. Next I picked up Graveyard Shift. It's actually hardcover by ML Rio. I think this is just a short novella about a couple people over one dark evening in a churchyard. So I've seen this, and I've seen ML Rio just circulating around, and I felt like this was a fairly new book release, and so I did grab it. I was excited to see that at the library. And then the last one I picked up is a fantasy. I have seen mentioned, The RF Prophecy by Wesley Chu. I actually just looked there's a really beautiful map on the inside. What's this about? I don't know. I just saw it and wanted to grab it. Sounds like it's about your typical and ancient prophecy with someone who is supposed to defeat the eternal Khan and a cruel immortal god king and save the kingdom. However, the prophecy was wrong. So I'm excited to get into this, and I was excited to see it hardcover essentially for like $1, if that. So I felt like that was a very successful library haul. I'm hoping to make a few more of those sales later this year. I went on a bit of an Audible spree. I've had some credits just kind of stocking up, and so I wanted to download a few things. So I did pick up Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Didenham, and I'm like halfway through this. I need to finish it. It's pretty funny. The audiobook experience is very well done. The humor and the voice acting and just the overall experience has been quite interesting. I'm curious to see how the rest of this series will go and if it will follow a similar format, because in this first book we are kind of just introduced to the world and what's happening. Carl goes outside with his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, and like the whole apartment complex, like every building on Earth just like collapses, and then this big like sinkhole thing opens up and they go down, and it's actually like a dungeon with a bunch of different levels, and it's considered a lit RPG, so it's very game-like in its storytelling structure. There is level ups he can get, power-ups, which we learn about different creatures, different rules to this game in order to beat and go down to different levels. Princess Donut is his sidekick, or rather he is her sidekick. And she ends up having, she's able to talk through power-up, which is pretty funny. So we get a lot of really great voice acting from the narrator. So I've heard a lot of good things about it, specifically the audiobooks. And so I am excited to potentially be starting my Dungeon Crawler Carl journey. I also purchased Stormlight Archive 5, Wind and Truth, is that what it's called? By Brandon Sanderson. I have read up until book 4. I have not reread or gotten to this new book at all, but I figured whenever I did, I would just do an audiobook for that. I've got like half the series as real books to read, and then I think book 4 I have duplicate, like physical and audiobook, and then I just figured I'd probably listen to book 5 with how my year is maybe looking. So I enjoy Kate Redding and Michael Kramer as audiobook narrators, and so I just figured might as well. I had some credits, so I got it. I also pre-ordered Byeee, I'm looking at the title, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is about 3 different women across 3 different times. Sounds like they might connect. The description has been pretty vague for this whole time. But I did look up the audiobook narrators, and Julia Whalen is one of them, and she's my favorite, so I just downloaded it. And then she also narrates Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, or maybe co-narrates it with someone else. So I also pre-ordered Atmosphere, and both of those come out in June. So excited to get to those. And then my last little book haul I did, which is pretty recent. I went on a quick little girls trip weekend to Las Vegas, and I took them to the Writer's Block, which is a bookstore, because what else are you doing in Vegas if you're not going to the bookstore? It is such a cool little shop if you haven't been there. I went last year with my husband. I drug him along, and it's just so fun, and I had such a good haul. So first up, I picked up The Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. I'm only about like maybe 50 pages into this one. Oh no, 20. I'm not that far. I'm 20 pages in. Well, I guess just what I've gathered so far is that the father is very into the old ancient ways of homesteading, like no clocks, no current like things at all. You eat by the rhythm of the sun, and you only wear your tunics and your fucking canvas. Like, no tampons or panties allowed. Like, and this, our main character is his daughter, and she's like, well, I want to also be like a kid in like the modern world. And it sounds like there are some archaeologists or like an anthropology class checking them out. But the first book, like the first chapter kind of seemed to open with potentially a sacrifice. So I'm excited to see how these things transpire. I've heard this is quite horrifying for a short little book, about 120 pages. So I would like to just knock this out in one sitting and just be thoroughly traumatized. My approach at this bookshop, because I consume so much bookish content, was to try to find things I hadn't really heard of or hadn't heard much about, because I've like pretty much like every other book on the shelf I was like somewhat familiar with from either BookTube, sometimes TikTok, and just like Reddit, whatever. So I was excited to find a few things I'd never heard of, this being one of them. This is Mending Bodies by Han Lai Chu, and this is translated from Chinese. I have not picked up a Chinese translation before, but this book just sounded perfectly weird. This takes place in a failing city, and a government program incentivizes couples to conjoin, surgically attaching themselves to one another, promising flourishing economy, ecological revitalization, and personal fulfillment. But we are following a student who is writing her dissertation, and she begins to suffer from insomnia. Her world is unraveling, the weight of expectations and society and close friends, blah, 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 blah. So she's really wondering if this is the right choice for her, and if they would all really be better for conjoining bodies surgically. So I think this sounds great. It says it blends body horror and political allegory to explore a world where even the motives of those you love the most are shaped by larger forces. Excellent. Sign me up for the book, not the conjoining. The next one I had not heard of is The Glutton by A.K. Blakemore. This cover is stunning. Look at that bird. Incredible. So good. I read the first couple pages, and this is about nuns in a Versailles hospital, where one of the nuns has been tasked with sitting with a patient who must always be watched. The man is gaunt, with sallow skin and a distended belly, and he is dying. They say he ate a golden fork and that it's killing him from the inside, but that's not all. He's rumored to have done monstrous things in his attempts to sate an insatiable appetite. An appetite they say that still tortures him. I think that sounds incredible, and it was kind of a cover buy, and it sounded really good. This takes place in like the 1700s, and the first little bit started off as like a letter, so I thought it sounded really cool. Next, I grabbed the book Censor's Library by Bathiana Alessa. This book was also just kind of like short and cute, but this is very 1984 adjacent. The new book censor hasn't slept soundly in weeks. By day, he combs through manuscripts at the government office looking for anything that would make a book unfit to publish. But by night, the pilfered novels pile up in his house he shares with his wife and daughter. The siren song of forbidden reading continues to beckon. He descends into another world of resistance fighters, undercover booksellers, and outlaw librarians trying to save history and culture. I listened to 1984, the abridged Audible version, last year, and it was okay. Like, I don't know. Feel like some people might be upset about that, but it was just fine. So I'm excited to just see a different and a more current take on that idea. And this is translated from the Arabic, and I feel like I have pretty good luck with translated works, so was excited to see that one. And then lastly, this is the only new release I did pick up, The Dream Hotel by Layla Lalami, and this is a first edition signed copy, which was pretty cool. Woo! I'm not usually too picky about that, but I did think that was kind of neat. But this is essentially about a woman who gets arrested in an airport, I believe, because the dream police are like, you're gonna do something bad. So they go to this dream hotel, maybe, / prison, and they tell her she'll be released, but it sounds like she's not getting out so easily. So I think this sounds really intriguing. This is one of my anticipated new releases for this year, and I was excited to pick it up on a fun vacation. That is it. Thank you for joining me for a little book haul today. Let me know if you've picked up any new books recently that you were super excited about or you think I should check out, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!